Nick Schmidt joining us on the hotline, and we appreciate his time. Two-time All-SEC pitcher for the Razorbacks and former first-round pick. Nick, appreciate your time today. How you doing?
Doing well. What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us.
You know what's going on. You know what this feels like. If I could transport you back to the NCAA tournament when you pitched for Arkansas from 2005 for 3 years, what's going through your mind if you could play Connor Nolan for a quick minute here? Now, Connor's pitched in the NCAA tournament before, but it's been a couple of years. What do you remember about the lead-up to your first start in a regional?
Man, it's like it's yesterday. It's man, what a great time of year. It's why you grind it out in the fall and why you put in all that extra effort off season, and here you are. That's why we play. All that work starting to pay off. Take me back. Wow. So yeah, what do I remember is my freshman year, we were on the road at Texas on kind of similar situation to what they're in this year. Really good team, lots of good talent, kind of stumbled a little bit here and there, but that doesn't mean the talent's not there. And we found ourselves in Austin facing I think number 1 and number 2 team in the nation. So, it's just a fun feeling. And you don't make it any bigger than it is. You got to stay in the moment. You got to stay, what's my job? I got to execute my job. So
it's interesting because you know that this season's on the line when you're playing in the NCAA tournament. Like you said, it's all that you worked for. But yet at the same time, you try to treat it just like it's not another game. But you kind of try to treat it like that. Go through your same routines and everything that makes you comfortable. But can you get into your own head a little bit sometimes and then realize, my gosh, I got to try to create this like it's, just like a regular Friday start in the SEC, which also gets you pretty fired up too. But, I mean, was that difficult to do, to try to just treat it like it was another game, or did you know that there was more on the line?
Well, you certainly know there's more on the line, but the challenge is how do I stay level-headed and not let the outside circumstance dictate how I'm going to be, right? I got to stay focused on what got me here, right? They got a good team. They got good stuff. I got, Connor, all the pitchers, all the hitters, they all have good stuff. That's why they're there at Arkansas, and they've played well, which is why they're in the postseason. So we got to treat it. We got to stick to our plan. What's our game plan? Let's go execute against that. But the moment you step back and you start looking around and you start realizing and listen to the media and listen to the fans, which we love to talk through that. We love to get them, that's what we like to do. But the moment you look at that, you've kind of lost it. And then now you're not in the moment anymore. Now that game all of a sudden has a lot more weight on your shoulders.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned about what you're paying attention to, the noise on the outside and so on, and stuff like that. There seems to be like more opportunity to pay attention to that outside noise in this contemporary day than when you were playing. And man, I mean, we're like talking to you like you're 55 years old or something. you were playing for Arkansas less than 20 years ago, but things are so different from now and then. I mean, our social media then was like Friendster and MySpace, and nobody was worried about how anybody was reacting to athletics on social media then. There were message boards and stuff like that, but is it more difficult to be a student athlete with a spotlight on you at a place like Arkansas now than when you were playing?
I would have to 100% agree with that. I mean, with all the media, the social media, like you guys mentioned, is out there. It's constantly bombarding you. Which makes it all the more challenging to stay level-headed because if you're not grounded in who you are as a person and in your purpose in life, then obviously you're going to let that outside stuff dictate your day, good or bad, right? Because they're going to love you when you're doing good and they're going to hate you when you're doing bad. So if that's what's your fuel, then obviously you're going to ride the wave with it. But yeah, I would say certainly it is much more difficult, and I'm thankful I played when I did, so I didn't have – there's too many other circumstances you got to deal with, right? So add this one, and it only makes it more difficult.
Exactly, Nick. I mean, back then you could just the only criticism you heard was coming from your coaches, teammates, close friends, family, and more importantly, what was going on between the years. When you, as a pitcher, ever hit a slump or you weren't throwing as well, and especially how superstitious pitchers in general are, Did you have a thing that you like to do to kind of hit the reset button? Did you change up your routine? Did you say these socks are no longer lucky, give me a new pair? Was there kind of a quirky or a different way that you like to kind of hit pause and then hit reset to get your mind back to where it needed to be?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was very superstitious when I played, do this, do that. But I was more big on routine, and I just had to make sure I went about my business off the field, whether that's my workouts, my bullpens, my this, my that, making sure I executed against that so I didn't let complacency get in line, right? Because when you start to win or you start to have any kind of success, that breeds complacency if you let it, right? But if you stick to the process, you stick to what got you there, more times than not, you're going to do well. That doesn't mean you're going to succeed every time, but you're going to put yourself in a better situation to succeed.
Mm-hmm. And as somebody who's played for Dave Van Horn, who has succeeded more times than he's failed, being here at Arkansas, and we're starting to see, especially in the new age of college athletics, these longtime coaches that are having some trouble adjusting to just a new generation of athlete, new rules, and all that other stuff. What's some things that you watch Arkansas baseball and you watch Dave Van Horn from afar that says, he's the exact same today as he was when I was a player and before me? And then kind of, there's some areas where you've seen that he's evolved with the game and has made adjustments too?
Well, we're absolutely spoiled to have him as a head coach for this long and have the success that he's had. I mean, Dave and his team have done, his coaching staff have done a phenomenal job putting together recruiting class after recruiting class, bringing these new guys in, transfers, and getting them ready to play. And, we're just expected to be a top 5 team every year now. And, and quite honestly, that's what Dave expects too. But no, he's done a great job putting together, year after year, a great team. Sure, we don't have the big one to put under our belt yet, but I think we're well on our way. But I think he's certainly evolved as the game changes, and with this new stuff, this NIL stuff, and having to deal with that's another level of difficulty that you got to sift through and manage. As something he didn't think he would have to. But no, I think he's done a great job, and he certainly has evolved. Not only with the way the game has changed from small ball to home runs, but also from the players and juggling the social media like we discussed earlier, and keeping the team focused and level-headed so we can go out and execute. I think he's done a great job.
Nick, I look back at the coaches that you played for, and I've never met Matt Deggs, and obviously he's had plenty of success after leaving Arkansas. I've met Pags a few times, and he speaks for himself. I know Dave Jorn and I know Dave Van Horn personally. I keep being told, because I've been doing the Arkansas baseball games for 8 seasons now, that Dave has mellowed out a little bit. He's still a fairly intense person. And I know what Dave Jorn is like. And, his pitchers would, run through a brick wall for him. What was Dave Van Horn like in terms of intensity in 2004 and 2005 and 6 compared to now from what you see?
Sure, he's a fireball, and I think we see that. I think he has, when you're establishing something, or you're kind of maybe not necessarily changing the culture, but trying to implement what you're after, you have to come at it a little bit more difficult than when you have it established and you're not necessarily maintaining, but keeping the train on the tracks. I think first couple of years he was trying to maybe figure out what he was after in terms of a program, but also what the personnel around him looked like. But man, Coach is a winner. Coach knows how to win. He knows how to get you prepared to win. And maybe we don't see that as much because he's got the train going in the right direction, but it's still in there. I mean, he's still a competitor. He's still a fireball. He still wants to win, right? So I see a lot of similarities. Not so much any differences. Sure, he's mellowed out, but I think it's more so because now he's going in the direction that he wanted it to go.
Yeah, and he's been in that direction for a long time now too. It's been 8 years since you retired. What have these last? What have you been? Let me ask the I guess more of an obvious question. How long did it take for you to come to terms with ending your career? You went in with high expectations, obviously, as a first-round pick. Injuries, I think, more than anything, are the reason that things didn't quite work out. Did it take some time to come to terms with the end of your career? And 8 years later, how do you look back at that career?
As an absolute blessing, it was definitely a rocky road. Having Tommy John right off the bat, and then get my shoulder worked on a couple years after that. But once I got my shoulder back healthy and my arm, it started coming back. So I started having the success that I had back in college. It was just toward the latter end of my career. So I was starting to feel like, I can succeed here. I can do well. And, family life started, and we had 3 kids, and it was like, okay, either we go all in or we go all out. Right. And so as I was with the Reds, really the stuff wasn't as sharp anymore, and I was starting to tail off, and it's kind of, okay, maybe this is the next this might be the sign, the transition, and some other things were happening in my life to help me make that transition more simple, if you will. And then as fate would have it, here I land with the same guys that I was battling on the baseball field with 8, 10, 15 years ago, which is phenomenal to go to work with guys that you play with who were in the trenches with you, who were in those 5 a.m. workouts, those 6 a.m. runs with Coach Jorns, who were battling just as hard as with you back then. We're doing the exact same thing in the workplace now.
That's awesome. Well, do you wish you were playing in a time where people were talking about spin rate and you'd have like a facility like they have in right field now at Arc? Because I imagine like spin rate was something that was almost foreign to you when you first started your career, but did that sort of language start to filter in near the end of it?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal how the game has evolved, and you can read this and read that, angles, launch angle, this, that, spin. Just what the guys have at their hands now, and the facility that that Arkansas has. We got to tour it a couple months ago with all the Pascal guys, and Coach Van Horn walked us around. But yeah, I mean, it was towards the back end of my career in professional ball is when that stuff started to really pick up. When I was in the fall league with the Padres is when they were start reading spin rate, and it was kind of cool to see where you measured up with other pitchers and other hitters, obviously measuring stuff with each other. But yeah, that was towards the back end, but it was all foreign at the time.
Mm-hmm. And with your work today, I know we had Charlie Boyce on the morning show, but y'all are now statewide, correct? Like to where everyone that's listening to this program can take advantage of all y'all's great services, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So we've picked up a place over in Searcy, great outfit out of there, great guys, great team, and then also down in Hot Springs, brought those that team aboard. And if I know Charlie, he's not stopping there. So we just continue to take care of the customer, put them first. And, just like Arkansas baseball, you put your head down and work and grind and get after it. And it's the same thing here. It's no different than when we were playing 15 years ago. We're doing the same thing today. Real
quick, do y'all have a company softball team, and does anybody actually want to play y'all? Y'all got more talent than any company I know.
The word has been is very true in this situation. So we play more golf than anything. If we have family get-togethers, we'll play, throw the wiffle ball around and just mess around. But, again, we're all pitchers. The only one who's a hitter is Casey, and he's too easy to strike out. So, but, no, we have a lot of fun together.